Okay, so I think we will switch a bit and listen to Stephen to give us the UK experience. I believe I'm sharing my screen. Is that correct? Yes. So
Yes, yeah.
yeah, so a little about Stephen. Ugochukwu Stephen Ugwudi is a dynamic professional who earned his BSc in polymer and textile technology from Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, before pursuing a master's in entrepreneurship and innovation at the University of Sussex, UK. As a also a recipient of the prestigious Chevening and Mansion scholarship. So maybe he will speak about that for the master student applying for Chevening. Also, he has demonstrated both academic excellence and leadership in his field. His entrepreneurial spirit has earned him multiple business awards and grants, cementing his reputation as innovative thinker. Currently, he serves as a senior engagement and service advisor at St. Luke's Advice Service in the UK, where he applies his expertise in entrepreneurship to community service. And Ugochukwu is passionate about using his knowledge to support individuals and businesses in achieving their potential. So he will be, uh, I hope I did not change your what you're supposed to write, but Captain of winning the SOP, which will build on what Jay-Z has said actually. Go ahead, Steven. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua. Thank you, everyone. I'm very sorry. Unlike other speakers, I did not prepare any slides that I will share with you. But if you do have a notepad and pen close by, please feel free to pen down whatever you feel you need to pen down as I just have a discussion. So as I just go through what I've prepared in my mind. So I'll be speaking out of the top of my head. And Joshua has asked me to speak from my experience. So in between, as I talk, I would make reference to some of the SOPs that I have written, in the past that I used to secure some of the scholarships or admissions or whichever opportunity it is, grants and so on and so forth. Without further ado, I will just dive into it. So, writing a winning supporting statement of purpose, it's one of the things that you definitely come across in almost every application, particularly when it comes to securing an admission for your master's or PhD and so on and so forth. The first thing I would like to talk about, my colleagues that have spoken earlier before me have, touched a number of things, but I would like to start in this way. Number one thing is your introduction. It is very, very important that you make your introduction as strong as possible because it sets the tone to the reader. If the reader goes off from the introduction, chances are that, from the beginning, he or she have already started losing interest, in the SOP itself. So it is very, very important. And one of the best ways to do that, from my experience, is to start with a personal or a personal story or a compelling fact that ties into your field of study. And because this eventually will, grab the attention of the reviewer and sets a personal tone to that SOP. And still in that introduction, the second thing, maybe the first two, three lines, you use a personal story or a compelling fact. And second thing is brief background. Provide a brief background about yourself. Introduce yourself briefly, your academics background, your professional background, and then follow it up with the reason for interest. Why are you interested in this field? Why are you applying? Whether it can be academics, it can be professional, it can be both. These three things should form your first paragraph. And when it comes to the second paragraph, this is where you then begin to talk about your academic and professional background. And I will give an example for myself. Joshua just mentioned that my first degree was in polymer and textile technology, which is an engineering course. But for my master's, however, I studied entrepreneurship and innovation for my master's. So it is important that when you're writing your SOP, especially for people, if you're somebody like me that, came from one field and jumped into a different field, it is important that at this point, you let the reviewer know why the change of interest in your field. So, for example, when I was writing my achievement, I think in the first or second paragraph, I did mention something like, although my first degree was in polymer and textile science, but my experience as a business investment consultant to small scale entrepreneurs and traders from poor rural communities in the last 3 years inspired my decision to pursue a career that will sharpen my skills in solving, the problems that I had listed in the previous paragraph. Now, it is very, very important, that you state this, because the reader will be confused thinking you studied this, polymer and textile engineering, and then you're coming for master's degree in entrepreneurship and innovation. What is the connection between the two of them? So it's very, very clear that in this particular point that you make that known. And then the next thing is talk about your skills and knowledge. I think it was Joshua that said, is it Joshua? Jonah, that said something like he reads some applications and it feels like you're begging. And that's very, very true. No, be boastful of the skills and the knowledge that you have acquired over the years. Talk about them, be it technical skills, your research competence, your leadership skills, mention them there. And it's not just about saying, oh, I have a strong leadership skills, I am passionate about this. No, give specific examples, add flesh to that bone. Give specific examples. Let the examples you're giving be what will then tell the reviewer that, yes, you are really passionate about this particular field. Outline your professional experience. Outline any jobs or experience, practical work that you have had in the field, and applies to the program. Now, this is another mistake that some people do. When you are going for a particular program, so say, for example, you're going to say, yes, let me use an example, entrepreneurship, for example, and then you're giving an example that has to do with teaching, for example, although it's a job experience it's a practical work experience that you have, but your ability to identify those work experience that then fits into that entrepreneurship program that you're going to is really, really essential. You don't have to mention all the work experience that you've had, but list them out and then identify which of them aligns with that particular program you're going for, and then capitalize on that. And also try as much as you can to mention relevant achievements, be it academic, again, professional awards or recognition to that, again, it's that aligns with that particular program that you're going for. The third thing I would like to talk about is research interest and goal. Now, it is important that you mention specific areas of interest, especially as it relates to that program that you're going. Be specific about the topics and, if any, subfields that are within that program. If and I will also emphasize on what I can't remember her name now. The second speaker mentioned about, researching, mentioning about professors. It is important that you research about the program. Talk about professors that are already doing awesome job in that field, in that particular field, in that institution. In my Chivening application, if my memory serves me right, I think I remember talking about a particular lady that was working in with small and medium enterprises, which is one of the things that I wanted to do in my project. I remember talking about her and talking about some of the works that she has done and how I would like for her to be my project supervisor when I'm writing my project. And guess what? Eventually, she supervised my project. you know. And I didn't just say that for saying sake, but I also went through with it, you know, to write to her when I started my master's and said, this is what I talked about and this is what I wanted to do because of your interest and all of that. So what I'm trying to say is research about those professors and mention some of the things they are already doing and how that aligns with your long-term goals. Talk about, when it comes to talking about your goals, make sure that you categorize your goals at least into short-term goals, medium and long-term goals. It is important that, you know, you categorize them into these different categories. This will demonstrate, you know, how you aim to achieve the longer-term goals, but starting small. It's very, very important. And impact also that you have made in the field, if any, or in your workplace, it's also important. And then second to the last thing I would say you talk about is, why are you interested in that program? Now, this is very, very important. Why are you interested in the program? Discuss why this particular program, university or department is ideal for you. Include specific faculties, courses, lab resources that have drawn your attention. I will give example again, because again, Joshua said I should use from my experience and give an example. When I was writing my Chevening essay, the question that asked about why the course and why the university, one of the things, because you have to talk about 3 different universities that you're applying to, and I will, if my memory serves me right, I'll try as much as I can to reproduce what I stated or wrote in the application there. I think in one of the applications, I wrote something like, the university is a top business school in the UK based on certain ranking. I think it's either QS ranking, and it has a unit that is devoted to contemporary issues of importance to entrepreneurship, development, policies, and practice. The university also offers an 8 weeks research-based project, which is where one is attached to an institution or outside, within or outside of the UK, with an option of completing a research dissertation. And I believe that all this will provide me with a practical experience to complement, you know, my coursework. So it is important that you know, sell as much as you're trying to sell yourself, but also sell the program, sell the school to them. Do your research, mention key modules that are in the program that, you know, are of interest to you. Very, very important. And you can talk about cultural fits, you know, explain how you will be a good fit for the program culture-wise and contribute to the academic community. So for example, I'm African, I'm Nigerian, you know, talk about your little culture and how, you know, you can then support other African nationals that are within the program or within the university at large. And also mention briefly networking, you know, discuss about your networking skills and, you know, the networking opportunities you wish to explore or you can explore through that. And then last but not the least is talk about your personal qualities. And here I'm talking about your unique perspective. Share any unique personal experience or challenge, you know, that have shaped you and have brought you to, you know, that have brought you to this particular program. Talk about your work ethics, resilience, you know, demonstrate your commitment to work ethics and stuff like that, and your collaboration, teamwork, and all of those skills, you know, personal qualities that you think or believe fits into that particular program. As I conclude, I will just try and give you some tips, you know, for writing of this. I've talked about so many things that you need to mention in your SOP. The first speaker, the second speaker have already spoken about this, but I just want to reiterate it. Be original and avoid plagiarism. There is no 2 individuals in this world that are the same. There is no 2 experiences that is the same. And this is why plagiarism is something you really need to avoid. You might be thinking that, oh, Joshua wrote his own very, Joshua's story is very appealing, but Joshua's story is not your story. Joshua's story is not your story. So avoid plagiarism and be original. Secondly, be very clear and concise. Avoid jargons and write clearly. Stick to the word limits. That if at all there is word limit, stick to that word limit. Be personal, but also be professional. Show your personality in your writing, but maintain a professional tone in that writing. It's very, very important that you give your writing a personal touch. Use concrete examples. Now, people tend to, when they come to give example, they use story. No, when I say talk about personal story, when it comes to giving example, don't use story. Don't use story. There's always an approach that you can use. You can either use star approach or star approach, you know, the situation, task, action, results. What happened? What's the problem? What did I do? You know, and what was needed and what was the result? That's always the right approach to use when it comes to providing examples. In that way, you won't use that story method. And then another mistake that most people do, which I want you to avoid, is producing a generic SOP. Producing a generic SOP. You use this SOP for this application, you use the same SOP for this application. This is laziness. It's absolute laziness, because every program you're applying to, you're supposed to research those programs individually and then tailor your SOP to that particular program. So that brings me to the second to the last point. Tailor your SOP for each program. Do not use a generic SOP. And always proofread. Proofreading now sometimes can be either yourself or with somebody who you think have gone already ahead or have more experience in that field. Personally, I applied Chevening 4 times. It was at the 4th attempt that I got Chevening. And I can tell you for sure why I didn't get it the first time, the second time, the third time. I was working alone. In my head, this, oh man, I've written this, you know, this is hands down, this application. Every time I proofread it, I'm just seeing myself getting, you know, the reviewers just reading it and enjoying it because of how well I've crafted it. All those 3 years that I was applying, I've never asked anybody to help me give it a second eyes or anything. Nah, I was just doing it alone. But at the 3rd attempt, I met somebody and he told me about proofreading and, you know, sharing your essays with some other people to just give it a second thought, give second eye, you know, and perhaps they might be able to see something that you're not seeing. And that's what worked magic in this 4th time. And not only did they review my essay and gave me feedback, she talked about, you know, those that ghosted her after giving her feedback. If I will not be critical in giving you feedback for your SOP or any of your application, I will not take it on board. That's the simple truth, because there's no point me doing it without being real, without being genuine to you. So if you have somebody or know somebody that can go through and proofread for you, share it with them and ask for feedback. It's not just them saying, oh, no, it's a well-written essay. It's a well-written essay. Why? How? Tell me. Oh, no, you didn't do it. This essay is not good enough. Why is it not good enough? Always ask a follow-up question, just so that you understand and craft your essay better. So ensure there are no grammatical errors, spelling mistakes, and ask someone else to review it. Always do that. Thank you very much. And I will be stopping here, Josh, but I will still be online in case anybody has any question for me. Okay, if I don't respond, just send me a text message, Josh, and I will come back and respond to it. So because I want to quickly do something else.
Yeah, thank you very much, Stephen. And to add to, Stephen was among people that got the Chevening. Stephen, maybe speak on that for 30 seconds. You have the Mansion Scholar stuff, which is like 8 selected candidates on all the how many per year do they give that scholarship to, Stephen?
Sorry, say again.
For the mansions to be selected as a mansion scholar.
Only 10 people. So for the mansion, I will just talk about it briefly. For the Mansion House Scholarship, honestly, I've never heard of the scholarship before I was offered the scholarship. I think during my interview for the scholarship, the British High Commissioner for Nigeria, for UK in Nigeria, came into the interview program. During my interview, she came in, walked in and sat for like 5 minutes and thereabout, and then walked out again. So when I received my email that congratulations, you've been awarded the Chivening Scholarship. 1 week later, I received an email from the Lord Mayor's office saying that based on recommendation from the British High Commissioner, you have also been awarded additional scholarship called the Mansion House Scholarship. It was at that point that I went back to start researching about the scholarship and what it is about and all of that. So I never applied for it, never heard of it. It was just a recommendation. Okay. But for those of you that would like to apply for it, just search about it. It's a scholarship that is being offered by the Lord Mayor of the City of London. And I trust me, it's a very, although most people don't know about it, but it's very, very prestigious. Why I say that is because at the end of my master's program, and based on my interaction with the Lord Mayor's office, I discovered some gaps in some of the programs that they run. And I submitted a proposal, which they approved the proposal, which adopted me as a project coordinator for the program. And I worked in that capacity for about 1 year and a half. So you never can tell. It's look it up. And yeah, if you have any question, you can get my contact from Joshua and you can have a discussion and chat about it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. So we'll be taking